Welcome back to This is a Commander channel, where this is a Commander channel, and today I'm going to talk about Commander, tough rules, and cool interactions, episode 53. I'm back, and I'm going to start things back with a card from Unfinity that is a legal card in Commander, and I imagine it will actually see some play. In fact, I've already seen someone play it in one of my games. The card is Space Beleren, and it's a Planeswalker with a static ability as well as 3 loyalty abilities. So let's take a look at them all, starting with Space Sculptor. Space Sculptor says that it divides the battlefield into alpha, beta, and gamma sectors. If a creature isn't assigned to a sector, its controller assigns it to one. Opponents assign first. I love that it has that stipulation that opponents assign first, as usually these sorts of things are done in active player, non-active player order, starting with the active player. But this one lets you, as the controller, probably the active player, of Space Beleren, see what sectors your opponents pick for their creatures before you make the choice for your own sectors. One other thing that is important to note, if multiple Space Belerens are out on the battlefield, the newest one does not make you reassign sectors for creatures already in a sector. Players will only assign sectors to their new creatures that have entered the battlefield after the last time that a Space Sculptor effect happened. And then one last thing that I'll mention about Space Sculptor is that players do need to make it very clear as to which creatures are in which sectors. This goes for everybody, not just the controller of Space Beleren. So physically divide them on each player's respective battlefield, maybe even use some dice with value 1, 2, or 3 on them to make it clear which sector is which, alpha, beta, gamma. And then be sure to have the new creatures entering the battlefield in a fourth area of the battlefield that is for the creatures that are assigned to no sectors yet. Okay, now that we've gotten those Space Sculptor ability stuff properly discussed, let's read what his 3 loyalty abilities do. The first loyalty ability is +1 loyalty. Creatures in each sector can be blocked this turn only by creatures in the same sector. His second loyalty ability says -1 loyalty counter. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature in the sector of your choice. And then his final loyalty ability says -5 loyalty counters. Destroy all creatures in the sector of your choice. For the most part, these are pretty straightforward, so for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be focusing just on his second and third loyalty abilities, as they're both downtick abilities, in which the cost of activating them is removing loyalty counters. So, here's the situation. Your Space Beleren is at exactly 5 loyalty counters, and you activate him for his third loyalty ability to destroy all creatures in the, let's go with Gamma sector, because you didn't put any of your creatures into the Gamma sector. Now, this ability requires you to remove 5 loyalty counters, and with Planeswalkers, if you do have the exact amount needed for that minus, then you can do it and still get the effect from them, and then they're going to the graveyard, which is still the case with Space Beleren. Sort of. Kind of. The effect will resolve from the stack, and you will choose a sector as it resolves, and all creatures in the sector you picked will be destroyed, but there's a problem here. Now, if your Space Beleren is the only one out, then this ability will not destroy any creatures. If there are others out, it'll still probably happen. To understand why this is, we can take a look at this rule from the Comprehensive Rules, which is 702.158b. And it says, a sector designation is a designation a permanent can have. The sector designations are alpha sector, beta sector, and gamma sector. Only permanents can have a sector designation. Once a permanent gets a sector designation, it keeps it until no player controls a permanent with Space Sculptor. A sector designation is not part of the permanent's copyable values. So why does this mean that his ability will not destroy any of those creatures in the gamma sector that you picked? This gets a little bit into the steps of casting a spell or activating an ability, which I've covered a little bit in previous episodes, and of course, I'll be diving much deeper into it for future episodes. But basically, you will activate the loyalty ability, placing it onto the stack. And then eventually, you'll need to pay the cost of it, which is removing the 5 loyalty counters, and this will be setting his loyalty to 0. Then, once it's done fully being cast onto the stack, the game will check state-based actions. And one of the SBAs is that if a Planeswalker has 0 or less loyalty, they're sent to their owner's graveyard. This happens before the loyalty ability has finished resolving from the stack, which means that when it does resolve from the stack, the Space Sculptor ability of Space Beleren is no longer in play. It's no longer on the battlefield. And this means that no creatures will be in any sectors, because it's that ability that made them exist in those sectors. So if no creatures are in any sectors, then no matter which sector you pick, that sector no longer exists. There's no longer creatures in that sector. It's a bummer, I know. As most Planeswalkers, you can usually activate their ultimate the turn that you do have them at their required loyalty to minus them. But with Space Beleren, you'll have to be at 6 or more loyalty in order to actually get use out of his. And of course, this all applies to his -1 ability as well. If he is at exactly 1 loyalty and you want to put a +1/+1 counter on all the creatures in a certain sector, then he'll be dead before the ability resolves, and that again means no sectors for the ability to see. Anyhow, that's all I've got for today's episode. As always, I hope that all of you found this video to be entertaining at least, and I hope that a few of you have even learned something about the crazy rules in this great game of Magic. Have a good one. Ta-ta. And for those of you who've stuck around this long, I've been away for a good bit. I think like 3 weeks or so since I've uploaded a video. There's certain things that I just won't be able to talk about as to what kept me away, but one thing I can talk about is that I was at the New York Comic-Con with a buddy of mine, and it was really, really fun. Got to shave my head bald to cosplay as a character. Maybe one day I'll release the photos. Maybe one day I'll do a face reveal on this or something like that. Who knows? Maybe. But yeah, it was really, really cool. Cosplayed as a character from Star Wars KOTOR, the Knights of the Old Republic. And Darth Malak is who I went as, and it was really, really cool. We had hundreds of people taking photos of me and my buddy. We were both Sith, so it was really, really cool getting to be the bad guys and stuff. So had a blast, got to see a lot of great panels and got to see a lot of really cool things, bought a lot of nerdy stuff. Sadly, not a lot of Magic stuff. We saw a few folks down in the bottom area where there was board games and tabletop stuff, and they had some Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, things like that. But it's a shame to not see such a larger Magic representation of just Magic culture and whatnot. We have so many talented artists and things like that. There's amazing art in this game, so it was kind of a bummer to not see more Magic things being represented in some of the other areas. I mean, that'd be cool to one day, I don't know, you cosplay as a Magic character, but I feel like so many of the people there just wouldn't know who the heck we were going as. So anyhow, this is probably the longest bonus post-credits scene that I've done on any videos yet. But yeah, for those of you that stuck around, thank you very much. I always appreciate these kind of folks that stick around and get to listen to these cool things. I don't have any bonus facts or bonus things. Let's see, is there anything I could come up with on the spot for Space Beleren? Probably not. Cool guy. I actually might run him because his effect is very similar to, what's that card? Raging River, and it's one of my favorite cards. But again, I love the fact that you get to pick the sectors afterwards. Everybody can put they'll probably, your opponents will probably divide it into A, B, and or alpha, beta, and gamma. So then you can just put all of your creatures into one category. You probably don't want to space them out. There's not really a reason to do so. And yeah, it's just a really cool effect for evasion. You get evasion out of it. You get pumping your creatures, and you get creature destruction all on one little card. So pretty cool guy. Yeah. So okay. All right. I'm gonna shut up now. This one's gotten long enough as is. Ta-ta.